Hello, everyone, and welcome to Financial Autonomy for Women, the podcast. My name is Maureen Paley, and I'm your host for this podcast. It is my joy and pleasure to be your podcast host to talk about all things financial that are going to support you in building the autonomy to live your best life. As some of you may know, I've kind of been on a mini hiatus lately. It wasn't necessarily planned, but I had a busy end of summer, did some traveling to Japan at the end of September, which was a huge highlight for my year, for my 2023. Come back, recovered from my jet lag, and I'm back in action with podcast episodes. So, welcome. Thanks for your patience, and let's get right to it. Here's one thing to know about me. As a coach, especially I'm a life coach, financial coach, career coach, and I work with women or anyone that has received that gendered conditioning that comes from being assigned the female sex at birth. I don't give advice. I shouldn't say I don't give advice. I am very careful about giving advice. And I don't give advice, really. What I do is I provide education. I teach rather than give advice. So I wanted to call this episode My Best Financial Advice because this probably is my best financial advice. Keep it simple, sweetheart. And the thing is about anything that I mention in this podcast isn't financial advice. I don't want you to go out and say, hey, this person on this podcast told me to do XYZ with my money. The whole point of financial autonomy is you get to decide what you do with your money. You get to decide what you do with your finances. This is my offering to you the information that you might want or could use to make the best financial decisions for you. So let's get to this KISS method. So I think you've probably heard about the KISS method before, right? And it's usually spoken out, keep it simple, stupid. And that is not a word I am going to use at all because I don't think anybody's stupid. And if you've listened to any of the podcast episodes here, or you know me, you know the work that I do and the type of content that I produce, shaming is not part of my support of others, period. So I want to cancel shame and blame. So we don't call ourselves stupid. There's enough forces out there that are wanting us to shame and blame ourselves for our financial challenges. And what I do, especially given my background as a macro social worker, I look at the systems that are at play here. So we all live in this capitalist system, right? And capitalism will find ways to reduce barriers for us to spend our money. And then when we as consumers are left on the other end of those actions, spending our money, we will be told, hey, this is all your fault. This is your fault. You need to blame yourself. You need to feel ashamed for the decisions that you made. Now, here's the thing. You also may know that I'm all about balance, right? So that doesn't mean that we have no personal responsibility. I want to make sure that that is clear. We definitely are 100% responsible for ourselves. And we 100% live in these systems that seek to keep information from us and seek to drive our decision making to their benefit, right? So it's not that we have no responsibility because we absolutely do. What I see is there is an information gap, there's an education gap between the system that we live in, like the capitalist system, the system of consumerism, so on and so forth, that drives us to spend in ways that we may not even be able to see. And also the education I need to be able to see what's going on clearly and make the best decisions for myself. So I hope that's clear. This is all about balance of knowing the systems and the power of that system that we live in, educating ourselves and tapping into our autonomy to make the best financial decisions for ourselves because we are 100% responsible for ourselves. So, okay. So we're not using that word, that S word. I won't even repeat it. What we're going to use instead is sweetheart. So the KISS method for me is keep it simple, sweetheart. I am about offering myself and the people that I coach, the women that I coach, self-compassion, acceptance. Because if we're playing the shame and blame game, we are working so much harder against not just our minds and our hearts, but our nervous systems, right? We're tapping into like a nervous system response that shuts us down rather than opens us up. So The KISS method for me in financial autonomy for women is keep it simple, sweetheart. So we're going to talk about how to keep it simple for yourself in your financial life and how that can benefit your financial autonomy. So first off, let's just revisit the 7 ways that we engage with money. Based on my long time spent coaching and counseling women on their finances and all genders on their finances, but primarily women, what I have observed is that there are 7 ways, and I'm actually thinking about adding an 8th, more to come on that later. There are 7 primary ways that we engage with money. So we earn it. Earning is the first one. Earning, spending, saving, borrowing. We have to borrow to live a lifestyle in the United States. Investing, giving, manifesting. So again, earning, spending, saving, borrowing, investing, giving, manifesting. And I'm going to add an 8th one about protecting. We need to also protect what we build. So that's more to come on that in another episode. But anyway, these are the 7 ways that we engage with money, right? Money's everywhere in our lives. If I asked you to sit down for 60 seconds and make a list of all the ways that money touches your life, it would be a very long list. You'd be able to rattle off all the ways that money comes into your existence. So these are the ways that we engage with money. These 7 ways are really the underpinning of what we talk about in this podcast. And keeping it simple, we can actually apply this method across all of these ways that we engage with money. Because what happens is, I think a lot of times there's a lot of voices telling you what to do with your money. There's a lot of cultural hangups about and also norms about what to do with your money, how to do it, how to feel about your money, so on and so forth. And when we keep it simple, we have a direct pathway to the best relationship with our money. So what I want to share with you today is how you can keep it simple in a few ways. Some things that I've been noticing, I would say in my time financial coaching past several years, about what it means to keep it simple with your finances and how that can benefit your stepping into your financial autonomy with that responsibility to make your best financial decisions. So let's get started talking about keeping it simple. This method is especially important for anyone who has felt overwhelmed, like at the end of the month or at the end of say every 3 months, when you're maybe taking a deeper look at the credit card bill, or you get a package at the door and it gets dropped off on your front porch or wherever you get your packages dropped off, and you're saying, "Oh my God, I can't even remember what I ordered." If you are using credit to squeak by month to month because cash is short, and cash is short for a lot of us these days, partly because of inflation, right? Our dollar just doesn't go as far as we need it to. It just doesn't. That's the nature of an inflationary environment. This is for you if you lie awake at night, or maybe not even at night, but you kind of have a pit in your stomach when you're walking around during the day and you say to yourself, do I have enough money to do all these things that I'm doing? Do I have enough money to send the kids to this soccer camp? Do I have enough money to sign up for the classes that I want to do because I've been dying to take that pottery class? Do I have enough money to contribute to this organization that I've been supporting for the past 6 months? So on and so forth. So that anxiety shows up because we don't know. We're not clear, right? When we have a lack of clarity leads to anxiety. Now, the way that life works, we can't always go from a lack of clarity to 100% clarity, right? Some things we don't know why some things happen. We don't know why some things are difficult, or why some relationships never worked out, or maybe why we develop those habits, so on and so forth. We don't need perfect clarity to get to something better, a better result. But chances are, if you're going through that cycle of, I'm overwhelmed by my finances, I'm really not sure if I do have the money to make these things happen. I can't quite remember where the money's going. Did I sign up for this? And how much am I getting charged per month? And I've got this monthly subscription again, keeps showing up. That, to me, that cycle of lack of clarity comes with complexity, right? When we get to simplicity, we are far more likely to get to clarity. So let's break it down with let's just stick with one example here. If I am feeling that anxiety about my cash flow and about, do I have enough money? And it just seems like I get paid and then a few weeks later, all my money's gone. And I know I make money and I know I make pretty good money, but why doesn't it feel like I have enough money? Right. So that is a very common experience. And what I have observed is a lot of that can come from a lack of clarity about where the money is going. So step number one in the KISS method, keep it simple, sweetheart, is know where the money is going. So here's the thing about knowledge. Sometimes, in order to gain knowledge, we have to shine a big, scary spotlight on all the soft places, all those vulnerable places we don't want the spotlight on, right? We might feel exposed. We might feel vulnerable. We might feel like, oh my God, I can't face that truth, whether you're telling yourself this, consciously or not. Oh my God, I can't face that truth because it would mean I'm a horrible person. I don't deserve XYZ, fill in the blank. When we face a truth, what I would invite you to remember is we're just facing facts. That's all we're doing. We're gathering information, we're gathering data, we're facing facts. Now, is it okay if emotions come up? Absolutely. I'm never going to tell anybody not to be emotional because it's in our nature to be emotional. But what I would invite you to remember is we have the power, we have the agency within ourselves as emotional, psychosocial, resourced individuals. Yes, I can face these facts. And yes, these strong emotions of self blame and shame might show up. And I can take the step to take a pause and remind myself, okay, this is some old conditioning that's showing up. I'm facing the facts in this big, scary spotlight. I'm overspending by several $100s a month. That is not a fact that I wanted to face. My credit card bill has increased by $1,500 in the past 60 days. That is something I do not like, and I don't want to face it, and I don't want anyone to know about it. I don't even want to know about it myself. So some of this is really self-knowledge, self-exposure, so on and so forth. It's okay to feel that way. So what we can do is take a step back and say, here's the information. Here's the facts. I'm feeling this way in response to learning those facts. And I can take a step, a pause, a breath to remind myself, okay, right now, what's in front of me? Facts and emotions. Facts and emotions. When we name things simply, we create a capacity and a resilience and a space where we're not so snagged and caught in the blame and shame cycle. And we can say, okay, wow, this is where I'm at. This is the information in front of me. And I know that this is information and I know it's okay to feel this way. And I know I have the wherewithal, I have the resilience, the capacity to step back and say, facts and emotions are not my end destiny. I can take action. I can change this at any time. So that, for some of you, you might be listening to that and saying like, oh yeah, okay, you make it sound easy, right? And that's the thing. When we break it down, it does sound easy. And I know that, I mean, having experienced this myself, still experiencing it, that's the thing. I don't get a free pass just because I'm a financial coach and counselor. I have to work hard at this too. But I think what you can do is you can build up a reservoir of resilience and confidence every time you're faced with the hard truth that you might not want to face. You're faced with the emotion that you don't want to feel. And every time you step back from those two things and you say, okay, facts and emotions are here, take a deep breath. And there's a lot more to me than just these hard facts that I don't want to face and this hard emotion that I don't want to face. Chances are you've made it through challenges before. Chances are you have felt very strong emotions before that have gone away, that have changed, right? Emotions have a life cycle. Now, for some of us, they might be like chronic emotions, emotions that show up on a regular basis, right? And so that might lead to a diagnosis, let's say, and I'm not a clinician, so I don't talk about diagnoses, but I do know that when we are chronically faced with challenging emotions, that can affect our mental health and that can warrant a mental health intervention. So the thing that I'm talking about here is that kind of jolt in your gut when you're faced with the hard truth that you didn't want to face because it brings up that challenging emotion. So, around challenging emotions, we can build up the resilience, the wherewithal, the tolerance to say, okay, hard truth, challenging emotion. I can step back and I can say, I am so much more than challenging emotions. I can remember the strengths that I have and the times in the past that I faced challenging emotions and I got through them. I can remember the times in the past where I faced a challenge and I was able to overcome it, whether that's something at work or with a relationship or, we tend to forget when the spotlight is on the hard truth, the scary truth we didn't want to face, and the hard emotion we didn't want to feel. We tend to forget all that we are and all that we've already made it through. So, my ask here is if you have been avoiding the hard truths around money, I invite you to keep it simple. Remember, a hard truth is just facts. It's just information. And hard emotions that you don't want to feel may come up when you face that information. Okay. We're just going to keep it simple. We don't have to catastrophize anything. We don't have to spiral out into any other story. Let's keep it simple with what the information we're giving and the reaction that we have. We can use that keep it simple, sweetheart starting method as a foundation to build that reservoir of self support. I can step back from this experience and say, you know what? Yes, this is hard. Yes, this is uncomfortable. And I've experienced hard and uncomfortable before. And there is so much more to me than this financial decision that I made that I'm not feeling good about. So we can allow ourselves some room to breathe, some room to resource. Don't have to get into the catastrophizing, don't have to get into the downward spiraling. If we have that footing, then we have that clarity in order to see what actually it's like, okay, this is the hard truth. I've got the clarity. That is a gift because once I have the clarity, I can make a decision about what to do about the hard truth with clarity, with accuracy. So keep that in mind. This is one step. This is one way of keeping it simple, sweetheart. When we face the hard truths that we have been avoiding, and when we feel those difficult emotions that we have been avoiding, we can look at them as information, that's the hard truth, and information, that's the emotion. We can take a pause and remember, let's keep this simple. We're not going to add another story onto it. We're going to step back and we're going to resource ourselves, remember our strengths, use the clarity as a tool to make our next best financial decision, whatever that is for yourself. Great. So just talking this out has me feeling, honestly, resourced myself. The next part of keeping it simple, sweetheart, is, and this might be controversial for some of us, create barriers for yourself. And some of you are saying, wait, Maureen, you're like telling us to reduce barriers and you want to find ways like you're providing education. So there are less barriers for us living our best financial lives. I completely agree. That is exactly what I do or what I tried to do. And here's what I mean by create barriers for yourself. Again, think about the systems that we're in. We're in this capitalist system, this consumerism system. The job of a corporation like Amazon, like Apple, like a credit card company, you name them, their job is to reduce as many barriers as they can for us giving them our money. So this means Amazon will allow you to pay for an Amazon purchase in like 6 different ways, right? You can pay for it on your debit card, on a credit card that you save. You can actually save a whole bunch of credit or debit cards so you can assign, okay, today I'm ordering this and I don't have a lot left on this credit card limit, so I'm going to send it over to this one. They'll give you points. They'll give you cash back. So you can pay with the gift cards. You can pay with a buy now, pay later system. You can pay with PayPal. They are going to offer you many ways for you to pay. So as consumers, we often look at this as convenience. Oh, it's like, oh, I don't want to put my credit card in every time. I don't want to put this in every time. Thank God it's saved here, so I don't even have to think about it. That's the thing. That's the thing we want to watch out for. Keeping something simple is not, I don't have to think about it. It's reducing the complexity and it's reducing the lack of insight and the lack of like thinking about it, right? When things are simple, we think about them, but they feel really good because we don't have to think too much about them, right? We've set up something that works that we don't have to complicate. And what a corporation is built to do is to invite us to spend our money in any number of enticing ways. So, for example, I save my credit card in my Amazon account and I can just hit buy now and whatever I need shows up to me in a few hours in some cases, right? And the thing is, where this can get problematic, this isn't about let's talk about how bad Amazon is because that's I mean this is just an example of a corporation that is looking to profit on consumerism, right? This is there's plenty of those corporations in the world in the United States. It's about the tools that they will provide, the on-ramps that they'll provide for you to spend, right? So it's like if I have my cards saved at Amazon and I get myself into the habit of buy now, buy now, buy now, one click, one click, one click. What happens actually behind the scenes while buying something now and just with one click might feel really convenient, and it is convenient. What it does on the backside of things, the things that we don't pay attention to, is it creates this complex system of, wow, my money is just seems to be disappearing. It creates these pathways out of my checking account or out of my credit line and into the profit streams of those organizations. So, their job is to make it as easy as possible for money to leave you. Why? Because they have investors who are investing in them and cheering them on and doing more investments in those companies when they make more profits. So basically, they're going to find any way that they can to encourage us to send our money to them, right? So, what we need to do, and I believe that this is the case probably now more than ever, because our purchases and our spending is absolutely immediate. It can happen in a split second. So the impulse to buy and the decision to spend are like there is no time between that. So our job is to create a barrier, a system, a way to step on the brakes so that we can lengthen the time between the impulse to buy and spending. So this could look like creating a barrier for myself in between the impulse to buy and the spending. This could mean deleting all my credit cards from my Amazon account, from my Apple account, from whatever account that has like a buy now, one click, auto renewal, so on and so forth. Why? Does it mean that I should stop shopping at a place like Amazon or Apple or anything like that? Absolutely no. If you want to set that rule for yourself, if that is the best way to create a barrier for yourself, some people set up like ground rules for themselves. That's okay. But it doesn't mean you have to stop shopping there. It means that when we increase the length of time between the impulse to buy and the actual spending action, we have more time to consider this purchase. And remember, the corporations, they're invested in reducing the time for you to consider and reconsider the purchase, right? So when we buy ourselves that time, we have a moment to take a breath. Whether that moment is I have to walk over to my wallet and pull out my card and actually enter the card into the system because it's not saved, that's okay, right? It could be that minute and a half that gets you to say, oh, you know what? This actually isn't something that makes sense for me right now. Keep it in your shopping cart, save it for later, so on and so forth. You don't have to completely abandon it or not purchase that thing. But when we keep it simple, meaning we create a way to buy ourselves sometimes between the impulse to spend and the actual action of spending, when the money leaves our accounts, we create a peace of mind where we are more likely to eliminate those experiences of, oh my God, another package is showing up at my door and I can't even remember what I bought. I'm just have to use my credit card because it's the end of the month and I don't have anything left in my checking account. So, I need to make this purchase. Or, you know what? This is what we need in the house. These are the things that we need. These are the things that we use, so on and so forth. It can help you get a handle on that cycle that leads to panic later in the month, right? The immediate action of going from impulse to spend is very there. Remember, they have a vested interest in making that as short as possible for us. So if we can lengthen that, we have some time to really consider, okay, let me bring this down a peg. Let me actually simplify my decision making. Is this something I need, right? And simplifying, keeping things simple is also going from wants and from autopilot cycles to intentional choices. Because the mindless cycle, you might think like, well, I just don't even have to like think about it. So it's like, it's easy, right? Not necessarily in the case of spending. It can be easy and streamlined, but remember, this is about the money that leaves you and goes to the corporations. They love it. It's simple for them, right? But what it does is it creates a complexity and an overwhelm for me that I need to take steps to get out of my financial picture so that I have more peace of mind. So another way of keeping it simple is delete those credit card accounts where there's auto renewals and there's instant click and instant buy and buy now and one click, so on and so forth. If that is something that you're already doing, that you have a sneaking suspicion that that is causing you some overall stress and anxiety, or you get to the end of the month and you're like, oh my God, how much did I spend on my credit card? Or, oh my God, I had to use my credit card because I don't have enough cash flow. This could be something that could really help you eliminate that overwhelm, that experience of overwhelm. So today we talked about some great ways, a couple of ways that you can keep it simple. We talked about how you can simplify approaching those hard truths that you've been avoiding because it's going to prompt you to feel those hard emotions that you're avoiding. We talked about how we can develop a simple framework to understand that process that will help us build up a reservoir of resilience and willingness to encounter those hard truths and a willingness to go through those strong emotions and make it out the other side. We also talked about keeping it simple, and this almost sounds counterintuitive, by creating some barriers for yourself, right? Because the convenience that large corporations offer us when we get to store credit card numbers and do double click here, tap here, swipe here, so on and so forth, it's a convenience and a simplicity for them to streamline how our money leaves us and goes to them. Whereas on our side of the picture, it leaves us overwhelmed and anxious and in this kind of autopilot cycle of, I don't know where the money's going. This is overwhelming. I'm not making intentional decisions about my money. So we talked about those two ways of keeping it simple. There are more ways to keep it simple. The last one I want to touch on is know where the money is going. This is also for you if you are having that feeling month to month. Gosh, where is the money going? I know I'm making money, but I don't seem to have enough left over at the moment. And I know I have financial goals I want to start on, but I don't really seem to have enough money to start on the financial goals, to save for retirement, to save for a car, to pay down the credit card debt, so on and so forth. Again, very common experience. It can happen to anybody. The antidote to an experience like that is you've got to know where the money is going. And one of the best ways you can do that is track your spend. Track not just your spending, all the income that comes to you, every source of income that comes to you, and then track all the spending that you do, all the ways that money is leaving you. That way you can know where the money is going. When you know where the money is going, you have clarity, you have peace. You can take a sigh of relief. You can say, okay, now I see it. Remember, could be a hard truth, a big scary spotlight you don't want to face, could be a hard emotion that you don't want to feel. Totally okay. Because we're already building that resilience and those reservoirs of self support for ourselves, where we know that we're bigger than our financial decisions. When we do know where the money is going, we have that clarity and that relief to start making decisions about where the money should be going, where the money really needs to go so that I can live my best financial life. So, know where the money is going. You need a system to do this. And I have developed a mini course. It's basically a course you can do. I don't even think the videos are more than an hour and a half. It's a couple of videos. It is a keep it simple, sweetheart cash flow tracking tool. I have built a tool especially for this. It is a tool that is simple and it is thorough, and it is available on my website. I want everybody to have access to this. So I want to give listeners to the podcast a $25 discount in downloading the mini course. You can press pause on the podcast right now and go and download it. So the code to use, and I'll put this in the show notes, is going to be friend of the pod 25. Friend of the pod 25. I'm going to have it in the show notes. You can access it at any time. Share it with a friend. Share it with a family member that you know is really feeling overwhelmed about, I can't quite see where all the money's going. It seems to just be disappearing, so on and so forth. When we are in that frame of mind, we are high anxiety. We're having an anxious reaction, and that's affecting our nervous system. And so then that also affects our future decision making. So what can be useful is going through a process like this of knowing where the money is going and tracking our cash flow month to month so that we reduce that heightened arousal of anxiety and fear, and we get into a place of, "Ooh, okay, now I see what's happening. Now my body, my mind, my heart is in a much better place to make a much better decision about where the money is going." So I invite you to take a look at the mini course. You can always reach out to me with any questions about it. And remember, $25 off with the code friend of the pod 25. So today we have discussed three really good ways to keep it simple, sweetheart. And if you're looking for more ways, check out the free downloadable checklist on my website, the KISS method to financial peace of mind checklist. This is something I put together that's going to be a quick checklist of really good reminders and actions that you can take today to keep things more simple for yourselves so that you can have that clarity, that confidence, that peace of mind that comes with keeping things simple and making our best financial decisions. I am so grateful that I got to talk with you about keeping it simple, sweetheart. I hope you've gotten a lot out of this episode. And if so, leave me a review and subscribe to this podcast and share it with a friend. I would love to hear from you as well. Always be in touch with any feedback. And as always with finances, be kind to yourself, seek support when you need it, and let me know how it goes. Take care.